So first of all of our learning programs that we're talking about today are out of the Institute for Agroecology at the University of Vermont. And there's the website if you're interested in looking at it. It actually just got published in its brand new design and format. Kudos to Reed, who made it happen. But you can find a lot of information on our learning programs and our other programs. And I wanted to start with that because I feel that our learning programs are really a big part of what the Institute does. And we're always trying to connect them to our research, our narrative work, all of the things that we do come back to support our learning, as you will see. First of all, what we aspire to do in the Institute is to support and drive transformative agroecology, which aspires to achieve ecologically sound and socially just food systems. We do that by research type of things, harnessing and understanding holistically what are the principles that really support sustainable food systems. And very important to us is integrating different types of knowledge systems, including science, but also indigenous knowledge and other types of knowledge. The 5 action areas through which we do that is education, research, narrative, convening, and influence. I'm only going to talk about education today. So if you want to find out more about these other action areas, you can go to our website or reach out to us. We really feel that these are incredibly interconnected and important for this transformational process. Another really important part of the IFA is our guiding pillars. We feel that we need to have, it's a bit of an accountability mechanism in terms of the work that we do, trying to align all of our programs into these 3 pillars. The first one, which I just like to say, deep transformation, really wants to have a systemic view, a structural view of issues. Even if we're doing work on soil health in a farm, we want to link it back to policy. We want to link it back to equity, social issues. The second one is about how we do research. And this one also touches on education in terms of our pedagogies. So transdisciplinarity, which values and coalesces different knowledge systems, mentioned that before. And then participatory action research, which I like to just say is doing research with people, for people. The final one, centering equity, is confronting systemic inequity in everything that we do, starting with how we treat ourselves at the Institute and how do we interact with our partners outside. What do you need? This is our community of practice, and it's very current right now. You can see that we have a collaborative spirit, really aspire to be very collaborative and not competitive. We have faculty, staff, and postdocs, PhD students that come from different programs around the university, faculty collaborators, and this is increasing, and hopefully next year we'll have more. A lot of people from around the world. We do different things together, including weekly lab meetings, community retreats, workshops, and other events. I really like this phrase. I don't know if can the people online see that? The people here can't see it. But I like to say that we aspire to have a collaborative net that works instead of network. And I'm stealing this phrase from Devon Peña, who's a professor in New Mexico. And he talked about this at a summit, an agroecology summit we were all in. And it means that a network functions not only in terms of connecting and relating, which is important, sharing information, also important, but actually we're doing more than that. We're going deeper. We're either co-learning or co-researching. We're doing actions together. So you can see here, all of these dots are places where we're doing some work. We have some collaborator that works with us. And the idea is how to bring this network into all of our programs, including the learning programs, because in the courses for the certificate, many of these people around the world are invited to come and talk to the people taking the certificate. And one important value that we have too is to integrate this local and global perspective and dimension, especially here in Vermont. As I shared, I'm not from Vermont, from El Salvador. And even though Vermont does a lot of amazing work in food systems, it can also learn a lot from global experiences. So the idea is to keep this exchange of information, of co-creation and co-learning as part of all of our programming, and especially as part of our learning programs. So we have several learning programs right now. We have the certificate and micro certificate of graduate study in agroecology, which is why most of you are here. We have an emerging global leadership program, which is more about professionals and people working in the field and trying to support them in learning more and also applying transformative agroecology. Emily and I are in the works to do a professional certificate in agroecology, which will not be for credit, but more for people that are interested in just gaining more knowledge. And they are always a lot cheaper than when you do them for credit. So if you're a registered student in the university already, like many people in this room are, and some of you online, doing the certificate is just a part of your program, so you don't have to pay more. But if you're not enrolled in the university, the 4-credit certificate is quite expensive. And that is why we're trying to give options to people that can't afford that. We also do these praxis courses as part of our projects. Gabriela, for example, teaches a course in transdisciplinary agroecology. You can see it here in the screen in French for a West African audience, which is a place in the world where we work. And we do them also in Latin America, and we're going to start doing some in English for other regions. And finally, we do undergraduate experiential learning, which Vic and Emily work on. As Vic said, he's the head of the undergraduate programs. This is also an area of expansion right now. We're trying to come up and be creative about new opportunities. But today we're going to talk about the certificate, and I wanted to start and just sharing with you a little bit of history about how we got here, because it wasn't that easy and it took a while. So the origin of these was that guy over there, Steve Gleesman. He's an agroecologist. He was my graduate mentor. And when I was in a similar place as many of you, starting grad school in 1999, he invited me to help him with these international short courses. These international short courses were 2-week, hugely intensive experiences, mostly not for credit. It was just a professional experience. And in 1999, we did our first one at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And after that, we started alternating between Santa Cruz and a Latin American location. And they were pretty amazing, I will say. They got a lot harder for me when I had a family. But when I was a grad student, it was great. I could dive in for those 2 weeks. Basically, don't do anything else but that for a full 2 weeks. And they had some characteristics that we try to bring into the CGSA. But what happened was, after several years of doing these short courses, you can see that one I'm sharing, that one in the orange is a course that I coordinated in Costa Rica. Again, a 2-week intensive in Spanish. When I came to Vermont, we started replicating them here. Vic started early on to participate in that. But one thing that we noticed is that they are so intense on the people that coordinate and teach them. So mostly for the organizers. And basically every time we did these, we were at the point of burnout after the 2 weeks. The University UVM was also asking us to do something that was for credit that graduate students could access. And we mixed them up a little bit, but finally decided that we needed to find a more caring option for the organizers, something that wasn't going to burn us out on the one hand, but also provide something that many of the course participants were telling us, and it was that they wanted to go deeper. Like the 2 weeks were great as an introduction, but you couldn't go very deep. So that's how we started thinking about the certificate. So in 2016, I'm gonna say, when did we start? Like really working on developing the certificate? 14. So Vic Izzo, who's here with us, who was already a lecturer here in plant and soil science, at the time was called plant and soil science. Martha Caswell, who's the co-director of the Institute right now, but stepping down in January, although staying in our community. The three of us decided to give it a shot. We had some support from the university to pay some of Vic's and Martha's time to develop this certificate. And it is really hard to get things through the university, right? It has to be approved by a million committees. You have to do a budget that then nobody looks at after it's been approved. We are recording this, but please don't share it with anybody across the university. But it's true. It was a lot of work. And we finally were able to launch the certificate in 2018. When we launched it, it was hybrid. So there was one course that was in person in Vermont that we had in the summer. It was the introductory course. And then the other courses were online. And you can see this was a cohort, I can't remember the year. I'm gonna say 2019, but John Hayden, the guy with the hat, is a farmer collaborator we've had for years. He's retired now. But we started doing the certificate this way. And we went fully online with COVID. So it used to be a hybrid, and there were pluses and minuses to that. One of the minuses was that if you wanted to come to Vermont, you had to pay your way. We had no scholarships. We had scholarships one time. But it was really hard for people that didn't have the financial means. And if we go back to our pillars, this is problematic when we want to center equity, right? And that is very problematic to be in a US university that charges for everything you do. So we have to get creative. When we went fully online that first summer, we had like 40 people from 15 to 20 before. And we realized that access piece, so many people could access this so much more online that we decided to just keep it online. And that is where we are right now. Right now, the certificate is fully online because of that. Although I will say, and I'm really happy to announce this, that officially we now have a scholarship fund for the IFA learning programs. So we just got it established. Now we're going to start to try to feed it. And we're going to ask everybody who takes the courses and our alums to help us, because the idea is we get a lot of requests to join the certificate, and a lot of people don't have the financial means. So I want to offer those scholarships to those people, especially for underrepresented people and international participants that many times cannot afford the about $3,000 per course that it would cost for the certificate. So the options that we have right now, the full certificate is 5 courses, 15 credits. There's 3 required courses and 2 electives. It is online, and the but is that we are starting, because we have more people in the IFA as we grow. I don't know if I said it, but we're not even 2 years old in the IFA. We got established last year officially as a university institute. So as we populate our community, more people are offering courses, and some of them might be in person for those of you that are here at the University of Vermont. We have one of those that I will touch on briefly a little later. You can also do a micro certificate, which is only 3 required courses, 9 credits. The same thing online, but we do require the 3 courses that are right now online, though every once in a while we might do an exception substitute. In order to do the certificate for credit, you need to apply to the graduate college and get accepted. Emily and I handle the applications too. And then the last option is that right now, all of these credits can be taken for non-credit at a much reduced rate, but you don't get that university credential that you might want if you want to do a graduate program later. So the 4 credit, I always say, is really good when people think that they're going to continue on to do a master's or a PhD, because then you can transfer those 3 credits. And at least you can think you would have had to pay for them, or somebody would have had to pay for them somewhere. But if what you want is the knowledge and you don't have the means to pay for the credits, you can opt for the non-credit option, which right now, and after a lot of fighting, is at $750 a course. The way we're doing it right now is that you basically take the same course as for credit, but you don't have to turn in assignments. You can talk to your instructors, and we have here one and Niels online. So Colin is an instructor. Niels is an instructor currently. Vic was an instructor. I was an instructor. Have you taught CGSA yet? Yet. You can talk to them about, if you're a non-credit, if you want to do the assignments and things like that. And again, you might think, oh, but we're doing the same thing and paying less, but that is a systemic issue. So go back to our pillar of deep transformation. It is really hard to accommodate people without financial resources. So we're doing our best. So I wanted to go over the required courses. So these would be the ones that you take for the certificate and the micro certificate. And we do highly encourage people to do it sequentially. So course number 1 is taught in the fall. Transformative Agroecology gives you a foundation. And as you can see, this is so connected to our mission and vision in the Institute that we really want you to get grounded in that. The second one brings you to that ecological foundation, which is really important to agroecology, taught by Katie Horner in the spring. So you could take this one in the spring. And the one taught by Niels also in the spring, on agroecology, food sovereignty, and social movements would be our third one. Although right now, the way it's working is that they're concurrent. But the idea, and if you've read agroecology literature, there's a seminal paper in 2009 that talks about agroecology as a science, a social movement, and a practice. In short, is sort of like to give you that foundation of those three things with these 3 courses. Some strongly recommended electives, and I say strongly recommended because they're taught by our people. And we do have meetings and we do talk about curriculum in order to know what's being taught. So we know that this is aligning with our pillars and the transformative agroecology approach. So Colin teaches participatory action research and transdisciplinary agroecology. Do you want to say something about your course?
Yeah, sure.
Go.
You should definitely take it. Come join me. It's really fun. We have it's basically the first part of it's about the politics of knowledge, thinking about who we are and why that matters for the research that we do and how we move through the world. And the rest of it is a kind of a co-constructed curriculum. There's a bit of a participatory process for developing what people want to focus on, to explore different methods, approaches, tools, techniques in participatory action research. But it's also really, in my view, useful beyond, you might not be wanting to do a participant or able to do a PAR project right immediately now, but the main assignment is to develop your kind of your thinking and your manifesto for your work throughout, which a lot of people have commented is really applicable just in your community work or in your teaching or whatever it is you're doing. And the last thing I'll say, it's really great because there's usually every year it's been about half students from UVM, grad students, and then half students from different parts of the world, Africa, Latin America, Europe, even Asia, although the timing is really difficult with the time difference. And having an intercultural and international community to learn with is, especially because of the design of the pedagogy, it's very much about sharing experiences and learning from one another. I highly recommend joining me in this class because it's really fun and it's nice to have lots of good people that are committed in it.
So I wouldn't be equitable if I don't let the other instructor that's joining us to talk about his course. Niels, would you want to say something about your course coming up in the spring?
Sure, yeah. I also think you all should take this course. It doesn't conflict with Collins, so you can take Collins too in the fall. And that's also a really fun course. The course that I'm doing has a new curriculum this semester. And so the way that it's going to work is we're going to be looking at some of the forms of historic memory that that move food system actors. And we'll look at the ecosystem of actors and social subjects within food systems and see who's trying to transform food systems and what kinds of coalitions they're building. Thinking about food sovereignty, where that concept comes from, sort of the global peasantry as this actor that is moving together to try to build food sovereignty, and what that might mean in terms of public policy, how it relates to the just transition, the Green New Deal, land back, and Afroecology. And yeah, how all these different actors are understanding their own work, how they might be working together, and where we're at today. So it's really a look at the politics of food systems, the democratization of food systems, and how our politics from the University of Knowledge, but also labor, connect to this transformation that we're all working on. So it will also be real fun. There's going to be some co-construction parts to it that we're still working out the details of, and a semester project where people will be able to connect with the community in interesting ways.
Thank you, Niels.
I think say something. So
Yeah.
I gotta leave in a couple minutes. First of all, thanks everybody for this meeting. It's awesome certificate. But one thing I want to say is that I don't directly teach in this program, and a lot of us do not directly teach, but often we're being brought into these courses to give guest lectures and to create kind of this connect you to this community that is agroecology here at the university, and then also through our network, our net doing the work throughout the world. And that's really important in many respects. The most important I find is that because it's transdisciplinary, I find that a lot of students from the certificate come and connect with me over some of the expertise that I hold, and then vice versa. And I encourage you that this isn't just about the coursework, it's about, again, connecting and having access to all the community that's doing really cool, difficult work. It's really difficult work to do this transdisciplinary work because we don't have all the knowledge to do it in a participatory way. So I'm really excited to meet you, maybe not in the courses, but if you ever have any needs or help related to the stuff that I do, if you need undergrads to work on some of your projects, I'm always happy to discuss that and gain access to things. So, see everybody, I gotta run.
Thank you, Vic.
And I talk too fast sometimes.
So the other elective that we have in the spring is taught by Carlos Andres Gallegos Rio Frio, who couldn't make it today. He's originally from Ecuador, a research professor in Ale and the Institute, and it's on planetary health and agroecology, which is also a program that he co-directs with Amaya Carrasco Torrontegui, also from Ecuador. So this is another one, and this one is in person for the people that are here in Vermont. So this is the first time we're mixing them up a little bit, but I think we're going to continue to do that as, again, we have more people, we have more capacity to do that.
Can you make a plug for Katie's course since she's not here?
Oh, okay.
I have not yet taken it. It's on my list, so I can't make a plug.
Thank you
but I'm
for
excited to take it.
keeping us on that equity pillar. Yeah, so Ecological Foundations of Agroecology talks a little bit about a very strong academic background that agroecology has in ecology and doing the ecology of agriculture, you could say. It's very important for us, for people to have these perspectives, because I would say that transformative agroecology leans into the social sciences and social movements too, and Neil's course too. So we really want you to have that other foundation. And she also does talk about social ecology, but some of the things that she goes into is a little bit of evolutionary ecology and how that applies to farming systems. Case studies, like I come in to share about my work in agroforestry. So I do have a background in the ecology of agriculture too. And also landscape approaches that don't just stay on the biophysical aspects, but also touch on some of these governance and social aspects too. Most of our courses have this transdisciplinary approach, but some of them will lean more into ecological and some of them more into social, even though both are present and interacting. And then the planetary health, which is a new approach and one that UVM is embracing quite a bit, which tries to interconnect environment, human health, and the health of the planet together. So it's and innovation to see agroecology in that mix. And we're really excited to have Carlos Andres, who brings some experience in planetary health, weaving those two together. There's two more electives coming up in the spring that are not from IFA people, but we know the people. So Josh Farley is in community development and applied economics. He's been teaching this really interesting course on urban agroecology, and it's very hands-on. I believe you get to plant some gardens and also write a grant. So check it out. We had sent all of these in an email that I'm thinking that maybe we'll send again. And for the people online, if you are not in our email list, make sure you connect maybe with Emily. Maybe you can put your email in the chat. Okay. If you want to get the information. And then the other one is by Amy Trubeck. Amy Trubeck is a really interesting professor in the Department of Nutrition and Food Sciences. She's also a chef and worked in kitchens for a while before she became a professor. And then her specialty is food anthropology. And she's developed this new, also very hands-on course on cooking towards planetary health. And she has this new initiative called the Climate Kitchen or Climate Change Kitchen, something like that. But the idea is to use cooking as a way to learn about interrelated issues that don't get connected many times, like climate change or planetary health. So check it out. Again, we have a flyer for these that we can send so you can read it more. I don't think these two are on our website. The others are.
No, but they're on our flyers.
Yeah, so happy to resend them. If you need them, just connect with Emily. Maybe one other thing that I will say that I'm very happy about is I wanted to share a little bit of the history because getting this certificate established has not been easy. And one of the things that the Institute has brought us is more capacity. And for the first time as the faculty director, I have someone to help me. And that is the only reason this is happening right now, is Emily Hoyler is now helping coordinate and administrate the certificate. And I can't tell you what a difference it makes. She has a background in education and facilitation and is doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Emily. But the two of us are the go-to people if you have any questions related to the certificate or the micro certificate or the non-credit courses.